All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are peeling back the very fabric of reality with the one and only Arthur Schopenhauer. I want you to get ready because we're about to explore his absolutely wild idea that the world you see, the world you live in, well, it isn't the real world at all.
So Schopenhauer kicks off his masterpiece, The World is Will and Representation, with this total bombshell of a sentence. And look, this isn't some poetic flourish. This is the master key to his entire philosophy. He's making a really radical claim here, that everything you perceive, everything you experience, is fundamentally a construction of your own mind.
So let's really lean into this question for a minute. What if this entire universe of objects, of people, of events, what if it's all just an appearance, a kind of grand, elaborate illusion built by our own intellect? Well, Schopenhauer says that's exactly what it is, and we're about to find out how he thinks it all works.
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this mystery, first we've got to understand the illusion itself. Schopenhauer has a special name for this world of appearance. He calls it the representation. So let's break down what in the world he means by that.
You see, Schopenhauer's whole system is built on this two-world idea. On one side, you've got the representation. That's the world we know, filled with countless different things. It's a world of illusion. And on the other side, you have the will, the true underlying reality, which he says is a single, unified force. We're going to start by looking at the representation, the veil that we need to pull back. So here's the absolute crucial point. We do not experience reality directly, not even close. Schopenhauer, taking a huge cue from Immanuel Kant, argued that everything we perceive first has to be processed and structured by our intellect. Your mind isn't just a passive window looking out at the world. No, it's an active filter that shapes the raw data of existence into the world you recognize.
And this little diagram shows you exactly how that filter works. So there's some kind of true unified reality out there. But for us to even begin to experience it, it has to pass through our mind. And our mind imposes its own operating system on it. What's that operating system? Space, time, and causality. Now get this. He argues these things aren't features of the world itself. They're just the tools our mind uses to build the familiar world of separate objects and events. And this leads to a really profound conclusion. Think about it. If objects need space and time to exist as separate things, and if space and time are just functions of the mind, well then the entire world of objects depends on a perceiving mind, a subject, for its very existence. The world as we know it is fundamentally tangled up with our own consciousness.
Okay, so if our everyday world is just a mental construction, an illusion, he's sometimes called the veil of Maya, then what in the world is behind it? What is the true kernel of reality itself? Let's dive into the second and arguably weirder part of his system.
Schopenhauer's answer is the will. But I need you to forget everything you think that word means. This isn't about conscious choice or willpower. No, for him, the will is a blind, aimless, and totally insatiable striving. It's just this raw, restless energy that is constantly pushing, wanting, and struggling, with no rhyme, reason, or ultimate goal. This, he says, is the inner soul of all existence. And here is where it gets absolutely wild. Schopenhauer saw this will everywhere. I mean, everywhere. It's the desperate will to live you see in a weed pushing through concrete. It's the force behind every single one of your desires and actions. But it's also the force of gravity pulling a rock to the ground, the invisible pull of a magnet, the reaction between two chemicals. All of these, he says, are just different masks for one and the same universal force. Now, this is a critical point. Because the will exists outside of the mind's filter of space and time, it can't be divided up, right? You need space to separate things from each other, but the will is spaceless. Therefore, it has to be a single, undifferentiated whole. On the deepest level of reality, everything is one. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, this is a fascinating theory, but how could he possibly know any of this? How can anyone just peek behind the veil of illusion? Well, Schopenhauer claimed the answer was hiding in the one place we'd never think to look.
It's our own body. Our body is the one and only thing in the entire universe that we experience in two completely different ways at the exact same time. From the outside, you see it as just another object in space, a representation. But from the inside, you feel it. You feel it as desire, as intention, as action. That immediate inner feeling, that is the will. Our body is the bridge, the one direct link between these two worlds.
He literally called this dual experience the single narrow door to the truth.
By recognizing that our own interactions are a direct piece of the will, he felt he could then make a logical leap. He concluded that this exact same blind, striving force must be the inner essence of everything else in the universe. It's the master key that unlocks his entire system.
So let's recap. We've got an illusory world of separate things, all of it masking a single, striving will. Now for the big question. Why does any of this matter? Well, because this metaphysical setup, according to Schopenhauer, is the direct blueprint for a universe of endless, unavoidable suffering. Hey, remember that mental filter we talked about? The whole space and time thing that creates the world of separate objects? Schopenhauer gives this a fancy Latin name, the principle of individuality. It's the mechanism that takes the one, unified will and basically shatters it into the illusion of billions of competing individuals. You versus me, a wolf versus a rabbit, a hunter versus its prey.
And that very illusion of separateness is the root cause of all conflict. Because behind the veil, all of these warring individuals are actually just different masks worn by the same exact thing, the will. Every struggle, every conflict is essentially a tragic civil war where reality is literally at war with itself. The will is like a single ocean that only experiences itself as countless separate warring waves.
And this leads to Schopenhauer's absolutely devastating conclusion. In this world of illusionary conflict, the will is forced to feed on itself. The wolf that devours the rabbit has no idea that, on a metaphysical level, it is both the eater and the eaten. Reality itself is locked in this horrifying cycle of being both the destroyed as well as the destroyer.
And so this entire metaphysical journey leaves us right here with this incredibly profound ethical question. If our deepest tragedy, our endless suffering, stems from the illusion that we are separate beings, what does that tell us about the nature of good and evil? What does it say about compassion? And what might be the only path to finding any kind of peace in a world seemingly designed for suffering? That's a thought that can change everything.